A streak of neon purple cuts across the night sky. A synth wave hum rolls in like the tide. On the beach, Yorkie gently pushes open the glass door of a retro bar, stepping into a swirl of light and sound she never got to live. Disco balls shimmer. Youth glitters. Across the room, Kelly flips her golden 80s curls and grins. No one ages here. Cut to cold, sterile light. A hospital bed. Wires running like vines, life signs blinking softly. On the monitor, San Junipero, 98%. And that's when it hits you. Paradise isn't a place. It's a server. Final scene. Two souls kiss under an eternal sunset, waves crashing not from the sea, but from the rhythm of spinning hard drives. It sounds like the pulse of a program, or maybe the echo of love itself. San Junipero appears to be a romantic sci-fi fable. Two women, Yorkie and Kelly, find each other in a digital 1987 beach town where consciousness can live on after death. But beneath the pixelated pink nostalgia, this isn't just a love story. It's a meditation on choice. When your body can no longer decide for you, can your mind still choose? This is one of Black Mirror's rare, tender anomalies, an episode that doesn't end in dystopia or despair. But its warmth isn't weakness. It hides a blade, cutting deep into our beliefs about life, death, memory, and the ethics of immortality. This isn't a tale of tech salvation. It's a moral interrogation of digital eternity. In this seemingly perfect digital heaven, who defines happiness? Is it love, code, free will, or just our desperate wish to rewrite what we've lost? Because at its core, San Junipero isn't asking if heaven exists. It's asking, if you could live forever inside your happiest memory, are you really alive? Out of all Black Mirror episodes, San Junipero stands as the most radically un-Black Mirror of them all. There's no dystopian conspiracy, no rogue AI, no algorithmic oppression, not even the franchise's signature bleak color grading. On the surface, it's a radiant tale of love and redemption. But the story's original intent was never simply about warmth. In a 2016 interview, creator Charlie Brooker confessed, "I'd written so many grim endings, it felt like time to try something beautiful, but dangerous." And with that, San Junipero was born, a story about digital eternity. But Brooker, never one to leave sentiment unchecked, added a cutting remark. What we call beautiful is often just something where we haven't counted the cost yet. The director's vision, Owen Harris, and electronic sentimentalism. Brooker tapped Owen Harris to direct, who had previously helmed Be Right Back. Harris's specialty isn't horror, but emotional misdirection. He makes happiness feel like it's on the verge of collapse. His directive for San Junipero was clear. Make it look like an 80s coming-of-age movie, but underneath, let it unfold like a philosophical ghost story about the politics of consciousness. The visual approach was unconventional. Color grading was dialed up to be more dreamy than memory. Camera work was styled to feel like an AI, trying to mimic emotion. The soundtrack was designed to make you cry without knowing exactly why. The original draft, Yorkie wasn't even the main character. In the earliest version, San Junipero was a time travel resort, and the protagonist was an AI wandering across eras, searching for meaning. But Brooker realized that pure tech wasn't enough to move viewers. The missing link wasn't futuristic machinery, it was emotional void. So he restructured the story and introduced Yorkie, a paralyzed woman nearing the end of her life, as its emotional core. Her character was inspired by a real news story, a woman in a persistent vegetative state whose family debated whether to sign her into a consciousness transfer program days before she passed. Brooker posed a haunting question. Did she ever get to say no? Or did we only let her live once she was incapable of refusing? Almost shelved, then resurrected. At one point, San Junipero was nearly scrapped. The BBC, finding it too hopeful and not cynical enough, pulled out. When Netflix acquired Black Mirror for Season 3, they gave the episode the room and resources it needed. The original runtime was only 38 minutes. Netflix asked them to expand it to 61. The initial ending had Kelly walking off into the night alone, choosing not to upload. But test audiences pushed back, demanding the double sunset closure. So the script was rewritten. And in an ironic twist that Black Mirror itself would appreciate, Brooker later admitted. In a way, Netflix's feedback algorithm shaped the ending of the episode. That's the ultimate paradox. San Junipero, a story questioning whether digital immortality is truly freedom, was itself shaped by the invisible hand of platform data. Heaven is a place on earth, isn't just a catchy line from a Belinda Carlisle song. It's the most chilling reassurance in San Junipero. What makes this episode so masterful is how it wraps an entire hour of sweetness and neon-soaked nostalgia around a core of razor-sharp technological irony. It's not a love story. It's a digital immortality trial, disguised as romance. A factory for dreamscapes, with color as a trap of time. From the very first frame, color becomes an invisible protagonist. Director Owen Harris constructs 3 visual realms, each coded with a distinct emotional frequency. The 80s world of San Junipero, drenched in pink, purple, and blue, blooming in synthetic haze and oversaturation, like a data-fueled dream. The hospital in the real world, washed-out whites, pale grays, sterile blues, a visual flatline of human biology. Kelly's flashbacks of her husband and daughter, the only scenes with natural light, grounding us in emotions too raw and real to be digitized. This visual strategy drives home a key message. Memory can be beautified, death can be engineered, but reality is the one format that can't be rewritten. The camera work, too, is deliberately restrained. No drones, no sweeping shots, no flashy tricks. Instead, static frames and slow push-ins evoke the eerie sensation of a system observing you, rendering emotion as data. One iconic moment. Yorkie catches sight of Kelly in the nightclub for the first time. There's no cutaway, no dramatic zoom. Just a slow forward glide, like a digital system generating emotional output. You're not just watching Yorkie, you're watching a simulation try to make her feel. That's the real twist. San Junipero isn't heaven. It's a cathedral of emotional mimicry, built by code, not grace. 2 women, 2 mourning arcs. Yorkie, a first kiss, delayed by 30 years. Yorkie is less a character than a living metaphor. Her backstory, decades in a coma, denied agency by family, living only through proxies, echoes not just tragedy but a systemic logic, a patriarchal model of decision-making by default. She represents all those whose lives are managed for them. Everyone was so busy making choices about me, no one asked if I wanted to live. Her arc, from social paralysis to proposal and self-directed uploading, traces the emergence of suppressed agency. Yorkie isn't a heroine, she's a philosophical proposition. If you've never been allowed to live, do you still get to say, I do? Kelly, a control freak at war with death. If Yorkie's never had a chance to begin life, Kelly's lived a full one, and she wants it to end on her terms. She's lost a child. Her husband opted out of digital continuation. She refuses to upload, not because she fears eternal life, but because she fears a version of herself she no longer recognizes. Her most cutting line? If you think I'm going to spend eternity in a theme park, you're wrong. That wasn't just for Yorkie. It was for us. Kelly is the show's anti-romantic, a skeptic of synthetic connection, a rebel against emotional scripting. And that's precisely why, when she finally chooses to upload, it's not a fairy tale ending, it's a calculated surrender. Not a moment of bliss, but of deliberate rebellion. Not because love changed her, but because she chose to be present for Yorkie's sake. She chose to simulate a future to honor the reality she had. Nostalgia isn't comfort. It's a control interface. San Junipero is a nostalgic wonderland for a reason. But it's not because the 80s were better. It's because the 80s are algorithmically optimized to trigger emotional highs. The town, the club, the neon, all of it is strategic. This isn't a place that lets you move on. It's a trap that keeps you in the glow of a perfectly looped past. As one critic said, San Junipero isn't heaven. It's a beautifully coded addiction. The architecture of emotion, every landmark a mental state. Tucker's nightclub, where social craving and dopamine feedback meet. The amusement park, fun without consequence forever. The beach house, the hard drive of romantic memory, where real love is stored and replayed. The church ruins, barely noticeable, yet vital, where Yorkie first mentions God. A symbolic fracture between old beliefs and new digital deities. There's no God in San Junipero, only servers. It's the only happy ending in Black Mirror, but is it really an ending? If San Junipero cloaks its data in beauty through visual language, its narrative structure is something else entirely, a finely tuned machine engineered to manipulate emotion in layers. In this section, we'll dissect its structural sleight of hand and explore how it contrasts with Brooker's typically brutal style through one of his most uncharacteristically tender episodes. Puzzle piece from a 3-act trick to a 4-dimensional emotional space. Act 1, the setup. Yorkie is cast as a shy outsider. Her awkwardness feels relatable, her nervousness disarming. The audience is baited into believing they're about to witness a coming-out story or a late-blooming self-acceptance arc. But there's restraint. Director Owen Harris keeps the beats understated, the tension simmering. Act 2, the twist. Kelly breaks the illusion. San Junipero isn't real. It's a simulation. Suddenly, space itself is redefined, and so is emotional legitimacy. We thought they were falling in love, but now they're just users interacting within a system. Act 3. The wager. Yorkie chooses to upload. Kelly hesitates. The episode now plunges into philosophical and ethical territory. Yorkie's decision feels like a triumph of technological logic. Kelly's refusal stands as a last defense of emotional authenticity. They break up. The story drags us toward a tragic arc we're trained to expect. The final beat, systemic salvation? Kelly changes her mind. A neon Tucker's lights up. Belinda Carlisle's heaven is a place on earth explodes. Everything feels warm and victorious. But under the euphoric visuals and swelling music lies something far colder. This isn't your joy, it's your emotional script being triggered. This structure is ingenious. It leads you toward empathy, even as it sneakily installs doubt. As one media theorist put it, this isn't a love story. It's the emotional equivalent of a script execution. Movie camera from Be Right Back to San Junipero, Owen Harris's emotional dialectics. This isn't Harris's first foray into digital intimacy. He also directed Be Right Back, a quieter but equally haunting tale of AI-facilitated grief. Side by side, these two episodes form a mirror dialogue. Both explore digital forms of staying after death, but they do it in radically different tones and temperatures. Be Right Back is silence beneath a weighted blanket, grief compressed until it implodes. San Junipero is a disco ball spinning in a twilight of simulated freedom, an explosion of light and warmth hiding a terrifying philosophical riddle. One episode digitizes sadness. The other camouflages dread with joy. In Be Right Back, the AI is merely an echo, an emotional hologram built from leftover data. In San Junipero, the tech has advanced, full consciousness upload. The ghost becomes a soul. The emulator becomes a host. Emotionally, one is about loss and imitation, an unequal conversation between mourner and projection. The other is about desire and resistance, a high-stakes debate between two living people facing the possibility of eternal love or eternal entrapment. Even the endings clash. Be Right Back ends with emotional deadlock. Like a voicemail you never finish. San Junipero ends in a technicolor crescendo, like your heart learned how to rave. At their core, neither envisions a utopia. They simply ask different versions of the same question. Can technology replace what we lose? And if it can't, what can we trust anymore? Brain eternal bliss or digital trap? The debate that followed. After it aired, San Junipero quickly became one of Black Mirror's most polarizing episodes, not just for its rare optimism, but because it dared to engage one of humanity's oldest questions. Is eternal life a gift or a sentence? Optimists called it a manifesto of post-human romance. The Atlantic hailed it as a romantic blueprint for ethical AI futures. Wired called it the most human story in the age of machines. To them, the episode offered a vision of death softened by technology, but driven by love. As one writer put it, if we're heading toward digital immortality, at least let it be powered by emotion, not algorithms. But critics saw a sugary cover-up for algorithmic control. They pointed to the uncomfortable subtext buried beneath all the neon joy. Opaque system mechanics. Did the algorithm nudge Yorkie and Kelly toward each other? Emotional pre-design. Why an 80s dance floor? Why queer romance? Is this just a high-retention formula? The ethics of forever. We see the sweet upload. But what happens after? What if you want to log out? One widely cited academic paper even titled its critique, San Junipero isn't heaven. It's a subscription you can't cancel. So yes, it's the happiest ending in Black Mirror. But like any well-engineered simulation, it leaves you wondering, did I choose this? Or did someone script my joy for me? If heaven is rendered by servers, can it still be called heaven? San Junipero might look like one of Black Mirror's rare happy endings, but once you dig beneath the pastel skies and synth-pop warmth, it becomes clear, this isn't utopia breaking the rules of dystopia. This is dystopia, dressed in utopia's finest clothes. This episode doesn't offer a reprieve from the series' dark worldview. It sharpens it by showing us a future so beautiful we forget to question who owns it. Globe with meridians. San Junipero isn't a dream. It's a product. Behind the bright lights and beach town nostalgia is a cold infrastructure of control. Yorkie's consciousness upload isn't a miracle, it's a medical transaction. She can't choose for herself. Her fiancé becomes her legal proxy. The hospital facilitates the procedure. All of it points to a sobering truth. Uploading isn't free. It's a service you purchase and authorize. The system has sovereignty. Your mind is data, hosted by a corporate owner. Time is rationed. 5 hours per week, unless you go full upload after death. This isn't a digital afterlife. It's an intellectual property agreement with a server farm. And in real life, it's already happening. Google DeepMind has floated the concept of digital personality storage. Amazon is patenting cloud legacy management. South Korea's Memory Project is replicating deceased loved ones' voices and personalities using AI. In other words, San Junipero isn't science fiction. It's the beta version of subscription-based existence. Brain. Structurally, this episode isn't just romantic sci-fi. It's a story of female identity and agency hidden inside a sugar-coated simulation. Yorkie's arc is an escape narrative. She's rejected by her conservative family after coming out. At 21, a car crash leaves her in a vegetative state. Her family legally blocks her right to end her life or choose her care. Her only chance to be herself comes through a system built by someone else. That's the quiet tragedy. She's not discovering herself. She's finding the only space where selfhood is allowed to exist. Kelly's refusal to upload is a rejection of the entire system. She's lived marriage, motherhood, grief. She's not afraid of Yorkie. She's afraid of a world that lets her survive without the people she lost. Her line cuts to the bone. I already did it. I stayed with them till the end. I don't want to be somewhere they can't exist. She's not mourning her past. She's indicting a system that calls itself heaven, but only welcomes those willing to surrender what was real. Church. Viewed a certain way, San Junipero isn't just a beach town. It's a techno-religion. It offers paradise, youth, health, immortality. It has rituals, uploading, consent forms, proxy signatures. Enforces punishment, time limits, no logout, system-mandated matches. It has priests and martyrs, Kelly's husband, Yorkie's caregivers. It has a god. Only this one lives in a data center and never speaks. It's faith outsourced to tech. Code in place of scripture. Design aesthetics standing in for death's terror. Performing arts. This episode doesn't ask, how powerful is technology? It asks, if your love, your freedom, your youth, your beliefs were all generated by an algorithm based on your brain's behavior, would you still call it real? Or put another way, would you accept a happiness that's simulated if it felt real enough? That's the question at the heart of digital ethics today. The issue isn't whether you'd upload. It's whether you'd have the right to refuse perfection. This isn't a future experiment. It's a live referendum on ethics. From the moment San Junipero aired, it was never going to trigger the same unanimous dread or moral whiplash as the rest of Black Mirror. Instead, cloaked in neon nostalgia and therapeutic warmth, it quietly slid a ballot into your hand. If digital eternity was an option, would you vote yourself into it? And the loudest reactions came from two completely opposite camps. One group embraced the episode as the series' one true exception, a hopeful vision of tech as salvation. These viewers often came from hospice care, end-of-life ethics, or trauma therapy backgrounds. To them, it was a story of archiving love, a dream of emotional continuity beyond death. But another camp saw through the sweetness. To them, this wasn't liberation, it was submission. Not freedom, but formatting. They argued that San Junipero wasn't utopia at all, but the best disguised autocracy Black Mirror has ever offered. Balance scale who owns your mind after you die. The central system in the episode, TCKR, the digital afterlife platform, presents itself as a provider of choice. But ask yourself, who designs the heaven? Who decides who gets uploaded? Who has the kill switch to your consciousness? That's the most quietly chilling message in the entire episode. The real power behind mind upload tech isn't you. It's the platform. And in a world where algorithms already decide which content you see or don't, what happens when they're the ones who can freeze your grief, rewrite your preferences, or delete your emotional history? The most terrifying form of power isn't controlling how you live. It's deciding how you're remembered and whether you're allowed to continue existing at all. Compass, so who's accountable when things go too far? If we bring the dilemmas of San Junipero into the real-world policy vacuum, one thing becomes clear. This isn't sci-fi. This is a preview of unregulated tech ethics in real time. Who governs digital immortality? Should a state law cover consciousness data? What happens if someone wants to reverse their upload? What if a comatose or cognitively impaired person is uploaded by proxy? Where's the ethical boundary? This episode sparked such intense philosophical debate precisely because it has no villains, no weapons, no disasters. Just a contract and a soul handed over to a system with full custody. And the scary part is we're already halfway there. Apple has launched digital legacy account trustees. Meta is testing AI memory assistants to simulate deceased personalities. Cloud companies now offer Mind Archives as premium services. Facebook lets you turn loved ones' accounts into AI-managed memorials. Google rolled out digital wills. Chinese platforms allow next of kin to inherit accounts under legacy laws. We are entering a world where you can live on a server, and the server becomes your heaven. You weren't forced, but once you said yes, you can't take it back. This isn't tech tyranny. It's an ethical vacuum dressed up as algorithmic mercy. Prohibited the moral blur. Is staying behind really freedom? On the surface, Yorkie chooses eternity for love. But beneath that, her choice is arguably a full surrender to pain. She's not walking into a paradise. She's diving into a simulation, accepting the algorithm's version of peace. And Kelly, who had resisted the upload after watching her husband die on his own terms, finally chooses to stay. But was that an act of hope or a betrayal of the grieving process itself? That's the final ethical riddle this episode presents. When we say a good death, do we really mean a prettier death, managed by software? Tech won't bring your loved one back to life, but it can build a synthetic version of the person you wanted them to be, so you can die next to a comforting illusion. You think you chose love, but what you might have given up is something far more rare, a connection that's real, painful, limited, but yours. We're already living on the title page of the San Junipero blueprint. This isn't science fiction. It's a soft launch for tech ethics. When Yorkie and Kelly run along a digital shoreline, laughing, forever young, it feels like the ending to a queer fairy tale. But that glow you feel? It's not just love, it's the warm light of a perfectly staged commercial. That's the brilliance and danger of San Junipero. It makes digital immortality look not so scary. But follow the threads of real-world development, and it becomes clear this isn't speculative fiction. It's a prototype. Globe with Meridian's Neural Eternity is already under construction. 3 existing tech frontiers are quietly building the infrastructure of a San Junipero world. Brain-computer interfaces, BCI Elon Musk's Neuralink, is pushing toward thought extraction via neural implants, and the FDA has approved human trials. Meanwhile, startups in Canada, Israel, and Switzerland are developing non-invasive brainwave readers designed to anticipate choice-making patterns. It's not about uploading your memories. It's about decoding how you choose. Digital personhood modeling. In 2021, Microsoft patented tech to build AI ghosts from deceased people's online data. Systems like DeepMind and Replica are already mimicking personality traits, memory loops, and speech styles. Some now even promise to keep your presence alive posthumously. What you call an AI companion is just Yorkie in beta. Cloud-based legacy AI, companies like Everplans and SafeBeyond offer posthumous video messages, memory vaults, and timed voice prompts. Premium services now pair these with AI, training your virtual self on emotional responses, buying habits, and speech patterns to simulate what you might say if you were still alive. The selling point isn't comfort, it's personality custody. Chart decreasing, it's not just a tech problem, it's a psychological shift. San Junipero hits hardest not because it's about death, but because it's about losing control. Yorkie didn't choose to upload because she loved tech. She did it because she feared being abandoned by the world. And today's younger generations are showing the same instincts, avoiding real-world anxiety by subscribing to mindfulness apps and VR meditations, swapping physical intimacy for digital romance and AI companions, prepping digital wills and personality backups while still in their 20s. This isn't dystopia. It's just what emotional outsourcing now looks like. We're not ready to face endings. So instead, we create simulations of continuity. Memories loop endlessly. Conversations continue via bots. Personality becomes a product with terms of service. Just like the neon-lit dusk of San Junipero isn't really a sunset, it's a convincing light filter. The goal isn't to fake nature. It's to make you forget what real oceans even feel like. That's not just grief, it's grief erasure. Brain, Yorkie, and Kelly aren't characters. They're user testers for the modern soul. What makes San Junipero disturbing isn't forced control. It's induced preference. The system never says, you have to stay. It just whispers, why would you want to leave? And that logic mirrors the algorithms that shape our lives now. Netflix doesn't want you to watch more, it wants your watching pattern to stay unbroken. Instagram delays showing new love interests after you linger on an ex's photo because heartbreak keeps you engaged. YouTube Shorts and TikTok are now tuning their recommendation engines to favor content with themes of grief, loss, and digital longing. Why? Because emotional immersion equals longer retention. You're never forced to buy in, but your attention span already voted yes. We are already building a cultural utopia around San Junipero. San Junipero isn't just a TV episode. It's a new kind of human myth about the ultimate question. Since its debut in 2016, San Junipero has resonated far beyond the Black Mirror universe. What began as a single narrative has evolved into the most aesthetically acceptable, emotionally palatable digital rewrite of death we've seen in the modern age. Adult graduation cap in academia, it's both curriculum and case study. Digital ethics and tech philosophy. A 2020 edition of the Harvard Journal of Ethics and Technology discussed the episode alongside the right to digital continuity, calling San Junipero a moral sandbox for exploring death in the age of software. Key concepts: death contracts, digital wills, post-human identity detachment. Philosophy and sociology. Graduate theses and scholarly articles continue to use the episode to tackle questions like, are you uploading yourself or just an algorithm trained to behave like you? If death becomes optional, does life need a new definition? Is the right to die also the right to not live forever? San Junipero has become a definitive reference in debates around the right to virtual existence. Adult microphone in the arts, it's the blueprint for a new kind of immortality tale. Since its release, a wave of films and shows have followed San Junipero's lead, centered on digital reincarnation, consciousness uploads, and memory utopias. Clapperboard upload, Amazon Prime. A man dies and wakes up in a luxury digital afterlife where capitalism still runs the show. It's San Junipero meets Silicon Valley satire. Clapperboard, The Discovery, Netflix. A scientist proves the afterlife exists, sparking a wave of suicides. His son tries to break the spell of mass belief. Clapperboard, Made for Love, HBO. A dark comedy where a tech mogul implants a chip in his wife's brain to sync their emotions, exploring the ethics of love and surveillance. All of these stories extend a new cinematic pattern. Technology doesn't destroy us. It seduces us into surrendering control. Books reading toward a theology of San Junipero. How We Became Post-Human, N. Catherine Hales. A seminal text on how the body has been reframed as information architecture in the digital age. Essential for asking, if your mind is uploaded, is that really you? The Immortal Mind, Ervin Laszlo. Explores post-death consciousness through quantum theory and spiritual philosophy. A founding text in cognitive immortalism. Digital Afterlives, Candy Can. A cross-cultural look at virtual mourning, online memorials, and the digital rituals of grief. Offers a theological lens for understanding San Junipero. Speech Balloon, it's not just about love. It's about the farthest limits of human desire. What moved so many people about San Junipero wasn't just the romance or the resurrection. It was the gentle, almost believable suggestion that maybe, just maybe, you could choose a less painful way to die. Online, it's become its own shorthand. When someone loses access to a loved one's account, they say, hope she's in San Junipero now. When people debate virtual immortality, someone always asks, yeah, but does it have the beach? When reality offers no emotional relief, San Junipero becomes a visual placeholder for peace. Brain final thought, it didn't beautify death. It reprogrammed the endpoint. San Junipero's greatest legacy isn't that it told a love story beyond death. It's that it used the language of tech to convince us. If you have to leave the real world, you might as well disappear into a place that makes you forget it ever mattered. It whispers a new gospel. Heaven isn't handed down by the divine. It's a server endpoint, lovingly designed by your local engineer. It's not a modern myth. It's humanity's first sincere attempt to use code to take the power of life and death out of the hands of gods and into the hands of designers. Is heaven written in code, or is it just a mirror of what we want most? As Yorkie whispers, I was scared, but now I feel everything. You thought she meant love. But what she really meant was proof of existence. The heart of Junipero was never about how tech can make us live forever. It's about this. If you finally meet someone willing to face eternity with you, are you still afraid to die? That's the final question the episode doesn't ask out loud, but leaves burning in your chest. It's not, can we go on living? It's, if you could choose a different way to die, would you take the version where your senses never shut off? Cyclone, what if the story flipped? Pushpin, what if uploading consciousness was a one-way trip, no undo button? Would you still pick Junipero? Pushpin, what if Kelly walked away and Yorkie stayed behind? Would it still feel like a love story or just another lonely digital afterlife? Pushpin, what if technology could promise you happiness? Would you still reject it in the name of what's real? Pushpin, what if your partner chose to stay and you didn't? Would you compromise? These aren't questions that demand answers. They're here to make you realize utopia isn't engineered. It's negotiated. Wrapped gift bonus facts you might have missed. The name San Junipero was inspired by a real coastal town in California, and also by Junipero Serra, a missionary who brought Christianity and its vision of paradise to the West Coast. A fitting reference for a story about tech as the new religion of eternal life. The ending song, Heaven is a Place on Earth, may sound like comfort, but it's slyly ironic. The lyric, they say in heaven love comes first, becomes a digital filter over death, sweet, synthetic, and eerily perfect. Director Owen Harris drew visual inspiration from Terminator 2, specifically the blurred lines between simulated reality and the real world. Every frame was designed to feel both nostalgic and manufactured. Brain, before we log out, drop one emoji in the comments to sum up how San Junipero made you feel. Missing my youth. Brain philosophically wrecked. Face without mouth speechless. Red heart, this is my dream ending. Robot face, not sure if it's really possible. Fire, upload me now. Waterwave, I want to visit that beach someday. Loudspeaker, next time on the channel. We'll be diving into Black Mirror Season 3, Episode 5, Men Against Fire. A brutal reflection on war, sensory hacking, and the illusion of moral clarity. We'll crack open the code behind humanity's built-in hunting algorithm. Subscribe, hit that bell icon, and stay awake. I won't rate your choices, but I'll honor every trace of belief you leave behind.